we'll mute ourselves so that we can sing along with Randa.
Okay, good morning. You'll see the words are just a guide because we all know this song. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on justice. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Now I'm walking and talking with my mind freedom, stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind just stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yes, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, yes I did, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Welcome everyone to Tuesdays with Tillis. This is our 201st consecutive week. And I hope that it fills you with joy to see everyone the way it fills me with joy to see everyone. That just continues to happen so powerfully. And thank you so much. We are a community of nonviolent resistance. We have become a community. That's maybe the most important thing that's happened in 201 weeks. And so what we've been doing lately is trying to take a little bit of a rest in a way, but also to push forward into figuring out how to reconfigure our vision, our mission post-election. We have decided that we want to put our focus on Georgia until January 5th. And we're all doing that in different ways. So what I want to propose for today is that we kind of warm up by talking about that. And then we turn to kind of the bigger question. What are your thoughts? I think these 4 years have been really like graduate school. We're just reading all the time and studying all the time and learning and listening to each other, what each other have learned. So does that sound good to you? We'll start with Georgia and move on to sort of bigger questions. Okay, good. So in the tiny letter, there are a lot of different ways that we can get involved with Georgia. And I want to hear from everybody about what you're discovering, because I think new things are opening up all the time. And I also think we want to choose carefully where we put money, time, and energy so that it builds on what Stacey Abrams and many other activists have been doing there. So I'm just going to mute myself and open this up now. Questions, comments, anything.
I'll pop on. And oh, did I miss somebody?
Go ahead.
I don't know many of you. I know Karen fairly well. I'm the organizer with Indivisible with National for North Carolina and South Carolina. But I just wanted to say hello to everyone. And it's impressive that y'all have been in here for 201 weeks. I can't imagine the bonds that y'all formed out there in the streets together. And it's so good to see that y'all have kept that going here in Zoom. I'll drop a link in the chat for some information that's come from National as far as our showing 2020 the door. But yeah, it is all that focus on Georgia is so critical. So I'm gonna step back. I won't be able to stay the whole meeting, but I wanted to pop in and say hi.
Thank you, Rachel. Welcome.
I think Stacey Abrams deserves a lot more credit and should have a lot more voice in this upcoming election. And once again, she's just like Erica, the progressive being, set aside and kind of dismissed and put almost condescendingly the way the Bernie effort to get on the cabinet or to have progressives appointed. I was so elated when I heard 7 women become the communication staff for President-elect Biden. And then I look closely at their resumes and go, oh dear, some of these people are not. I'd rather have an old white guy with a Brooklyn accent from Vermont than some of them. But it's what we got. Sorry, I don't mean to be gloomy about it, but I'm just hoping more than anything we can win Georgia and get at least some control of the Senate.
Michael, you're not gloomy. You're realistic.
So let's just try to focus on Georgia for this first part, and then we're going to move on to any other bigger questions about future focus. But thank you for bringing up Stacey Abrams, Michael, because one thing is that I really think she deserves so much credit for the fact that Biden won in Georgia, and that as we're pouring money, time, and effort into Georgia, I want to make sure that we're building on her efforts and the efforts of other Black-led organizations to build an infrastructure that can help her get elected if she wants to be for governor. When is that? Is that 2022?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I wanted to comment briefly.
Go ahead.
The organization that I've found that I could do the kind of work I wanted to do, which was basically write things, is Flip the West. And so they provide you with names and addresses, and you buy postcards and you write postcards. And it makes no pretense at being nonpartisan. It's distinctly partisan, supporting the 2 candidates. And so and they're very well organized. They're very responsive, and I've been very pleased.
Why is it called Flip the West?
Beats me.
I can answer that, actually. The organizers with Arizona, California, that western block of the U.S., the Indivisible organizers over there work together on this as a group project for their pod. So that's kind of what some of the origins of Flip the West came out of.
Karen, I feel, this is Jan. I feel like I need to say something about the Poor People's Campaign in this Georgia runoff piece.
Please do. Please do.
I think I personally am not going to wait any longer for the Poor People's Campaign to say what it's going to do. The truth is that for various reasons over the last couple of years, the campaign has had difficulty building a strong Georgia state campaign. So leadership from the Georgia state campaign within Poor People's Campaign is really not forthcoming yet. And it also feels like this is not an election where it's very useful to be nonpartisan. And Reverend Barber has come out with very direct endorsement of Warnock based on the issues that the campaign focuses on. So my advice to Tuesdays with Tillis is don't keep waiting for the campaign to say what you should do.
Right.
Find the group that works best for your values and your energy and do it, and don't wait any longer.
Thank you so much.
If something does come up that the campaign is encouraging members to do, of course, we'll share that and, try to join with that effort. But I asked 2 weeks ago for guidance and I've not heard anything yet. So I say we just go forward.
That's great, Jan. Thank you so much. So what I've noticed is that for giving money, if you donate to Fair Fight, it goes 3 ways: to Warnock, Ossoff, and Fair Fight, which is something that I really think is perfect. Also, there are a whole lot of ways to write postcards, write letters, text, and call. And there's a way to go to Georgia if you want to. I was in touch with some organizers today through Bull City Votes, which is Faulkner Fox's organization. They formed around electing Obama. Lori told us about this yesterday on the food call. And so I got in touch with the organizers, and it's very cool, actually. They have targeted Savannah. Fair Fight, Georgia Votes, I think, is the group, the local organizing group. And they've decided that Savannah is kind of like Durham. So they're sending people from Durham, and I'm sure if you don't live in Durham, you're welcome to also go to Savannah to register voters. The deadline is the 7th. So I'm really thinking of going for the last 3 days of early voting. And I'm going to put that link in there. But if you're interested in doing that, if you can get there, there's a requirement to get a COVID test, which may be the rate limiting factor because it's a little hard to get them right now. But it seems very well organized and a way to help people get registered in Savannah, which apparently the local organizers feel that there are a lot of people to be registered in Savannah. And it's kind of a blue place, kind of like Georgia. So I'm excited about that. Please email me or put in the chat if you want to know more about that. Or you can ask a question. I don't care. Yeah, Jade.
I see that Rachel put in the chat the link to Vote Forward, and that's what I've been doing, writing letters. It is so well organized and easy to do because you just go on your computer and the letters are there, you download them, the addresses are there, they tell you just what to do and how to craft your own paragraph about voting. It's really great. So I would urge anybody who wants to write letters to go with Vote Forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both so much. Who else is writing letters? Darlene, Pat, Lori, anybody else writing letters? Mitch? That's great. That's great. So that link is in the chat. Yeah, good.
We're doing postcards.
Good. Who are you doing that with?
It's actually through the Democratic Party.
Okay.
We contact through the Wake County Democratic Party. They supplied us with the postcards, and we have 100, and we've done about, I don't know, almost half of them already. But we can't mail them until December the 14th. I don't want to mail them until December the 14th.
That's great. That's great, Cecil. Thank you. Anybody else doing postcards?
I'm doing some postcards. I was working on it this morning.
Is it through the Democratic Party?
No, it's with Reclaim Our Vote.
Oh, right. Reclaim Our Vote. Okay.
Lori Fox recommended. It is nonpartisan, but, it focuses on voters of color.
Good.
Yeah. So.
Good. Who else is doing postcards?
I just want to affirm what Jade said about Vote Forward. In the chat, Patricia Long wrote that they had 184,000 volunteers and sent over 17 million letters in the general election. That's astounding.
It is. Thank you.
I put a link in the chat for a postcard writing campaign for John Ossoff's campaign is running.
Oh, good. Through the campaign.
Through the campaign, yes.
Thank you. Very helpful. You put that link in?
I did.
Good.
Hi,
okay.
Karen?
Yes.
Yeah, my hubby, Lee.
Hi, good morning. My name is
welcome.
Hi, I just wanted to pass some information. I work as a political consultant in a number of different states, and I've worked on Cuomo's campaign, Clinton, Obama, Perdue, the lady that lost, Debbie Powell in Florida, and for locally Rachel Hunt, who ran for the 113th district in Charlotte Matthews. So there are a lot of people that are doing this work. I'll be brief too, but I have worked for a company called Fieldworks, and they're doing voter registration currently in Georgia. You just go to their website. It is paid though; it's not a volunteer position. But so I'm committed to turning Georgia blue and helping Biden to the extent that we can by letting him by giving him the Senate, because that's the only way that we're really going to get anything done.
Yes.
And so also I've been contacted by the Ossoff campaign. I'm waiting to hear from them. So any information that I get that could help the effort, I certainly will pass it through my lovely wife here, Diane.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
That time then.
That's great. I hope you get to work on Ossoff's campaign and help him win. They're such great candidates, both of them.
Yeah. Like I say, they cover the gambit, and the two of them together will serve the entire state, and that's what I like.
A bus and a bus.
Yes. What else? Libby, were you trying to talk? No? Okay. Hi, Jesse. Mr. Waters, do you want to talk? Go ahead.
Yes, we sent more money to the Stacey Abrams campaign, so we're doing our part.
Great. Anything else about Georgia?
So it's Jerry. Just one quick thing, and I really appreciate the person bringing it up about the West campaign, because when I was looking yesterday for a group to do postcards with right now, it kept coming up, all these groups in California through Indivisible. So that's who I'm going to be working with, and I think it's pretty much called gapostcard.org. But to see all the groups in different parts of California that were part of that campaign was pretty significant.
Great.
And that was through Indivisible.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Lib, go ahead.
Early voting in Georgia is December the 14th.
Good.
Just as a reminder.
Yes. Yeah, Randa.
I'm doing postcards with Frontline Election Defenders. Just throwing that in.
Thank you for mentioning Frontline. So Frontline is a merger of Movement for Black Lives Electoral Justice Project and the Working Families Party. And is that partisan or nonpartisan? Are you allowed to suggest who to vote for?
It's, I don't know, but I will tell you this. It's a 501c3. So my guess is, not affiliated with any candidate or candidates committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just add that I'm doing the Flip the West postcards, and I agree it's very well organized. And what I really like is the script they suggest is very simple and straightforward. Seems good.
Has someone put, you put Flip the West. If you could make sure all those links are in the chat, I'll make sure they all go in the tiny letter this week. Anything else about Georgia? So I'm going to put in a plug for the tiny letter. When we used to be on the street, we would pick up a few subscribers every week of people who just wandered over or found us. And it's a little harder to build the list now. But we have like 1,364 people on that list, and usually about half of them actually read it, sometimes more than once. So as we're thinking about going forward, we might consider forwarding it to people if you find it interesting. And because I think we're building a really good list of things that people can do for Georgia. Okay, want to move on? So last week, we began to talk about how do we want to move forward? Like, one thing that I realize is that we've never tried to all do the same thing. And I think that's part of our genius. I think that we've all just learned from each other. And then we all, like all these different ways we're helping Georgia that suit our own individual interest and energy levels and specialties. So I really love that about us. And I think that's not going to change, and that we may even become a little more like that. So last week, I loved our discussion, how to expand our vision, how to become more strategic, how to use what power we have to build power so that we can keep resisting injustice and keep moving forward together, not one step back. Keep changing the moral narrative, all the things that we all believe in. So once again, I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to be quiet because I know it was a great discussion last week, and we've probably all had a lot of thoughts since then. And we're not trying to come to any conclusion. After the Georgia election, then maybe we can have a little more of a conclusion. But this has been a really rich conversation. So I'm going to be quiet now.
I hope down the road that we can concentrate on the minimum wage. It is a gross injustice to the poor. It is immoral. In the time that the minimum wage has not been raised a penny, Congress has voted itself 14 raises. And in the time that the minimum wage has been $7.25, the purchasing power of $7.25 has been cut in half by inflation. I don't think there's any single issue that we can focus on that will do more to help the poor than raising the minimum wage.
Thank you very much for that, Pat. Thank you.
Smash the system.
Well, it's yet another reason why we absolutely need those 2 Senate seats. Yeah, thank you very much. Cecil, go ahead.
I don't know how we do this, but as part of our focus, I think we need to look at the rural-urban divide in North Carolina, because that is one reason why we are a non-progressive state. There is a lack of communication of information in the rural areas, especially issues that should be of importance to them, such as the minimum wage, such as hospitals closing, and things of that nature. It's not hitting home to them. They don't realize, my Lord, when they put Republicans in office, they're voting against all those kinds of things. And so how do we build a more progressive state is the question. How do we bring a better understanding to our rural communities about the challenges that they face?
Perfect. That's perfect. Like, how do we tell them that the reason why the hospitals are closing is because the North Carolina General Assembly won't expand Medicaid?
And Medicaid, right.
Yeah. Go ahead, Penny.
One of the things I'd like to focus on is who's going to replace Burr. And do we get to have a say versus, we did not all completely agree that Cunningham was the best choice.
No.
And we now know, he wasn't the best choice. And so who would be who do we want? It sort of just came up from are we still calling ourselves Tuesdays with Tillis or Tuesdays without Tillis? We're going to have 6 years of Tillis. We're going to be out in the streets forever. But, now we may have a different way we want to focus our name and to include some of these things.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think we might want to change our name. Thank you so much. Cliff is putting a link to the exit polls. Cliff, you want to say anything about that? No. Okay. Andy, go ahead.
To tap onto that, 2022 is not far away, and we already know Burr is retiring, so we need to start thinking about who we want to take over his seat, and start putting some force and energy behind that. Obviously, after the Georgia stuff, after the inauguration, like starting in 2021, we need to start thinking about that election.
Thank you. Scarlett.
As I told you all several weeks ago, I talked with Mike Woodard at one of the rallies and expressed to him our disappointment in Cal Cunningham, and that he and the other representatives in the North Carolina legislature and those the muckety-mucks in power need to listen to the constituents. And he said, well, we have some people in mind. So I think every one of us, we need to get in touch with our state representatives and say, listen to the people. Don't listen to those like Chuck Schumer, who just decided this is the most viable candidate.
Thanks a lot, Scarlett. And you might want to read that article, which says the same thing that Mark put in the chat. Yeah, Diane. Oh, I'm sorry. I muted you, trying to unmute you. Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to thank Cecil for bringing up the rural urban divide, because we live in Monroe, but we have property out in Anson County, and the farmers are really hurting out there. The small farmers that provide the organic foods and free range everything, and the great veggies and stuff that they provide for their community. And we go out there a lot and taking care of the property. I can go to 2 city council meetings, one in Monroe and one in Anson, and it's 2 worlds, 2 different types of being, even dressing differently. And from what I gather, the rural population is really having a very difficult time with presenting their case. And so they need an advocate. So thank you, Cecil, for bringing that up, because it messes with the property value. A lot of us have legacy property out there, and Charlotte is spreading. So sooner or later, that place is going to be important, and you want the right people involved.
Thank you so much.
Erin, am I missing a way that you signaled that you want to speak?
Go ahead, Rachel.
I wanted to kind of touch on Penny's statement about making sure that the candidates coming out of North Carolina are the candidates chosen by North Carolina. There's the indivisible groups up in New York are able to have a monthly call-in with Senator Schumer himself, because that is their representative. And there was an idea discussed between staff as to whether some of the groups around the nation would like to help participate in writing a monthly letter, like a monthly Schumer newsletter with asks from around the indivisible group leads and indivisible members, kind of more incorporated into their statewide conversation that they have with him. And one of those asks already has been to increase the amount of Democratic Party on the ground organizers, not just during election cycles, but maintaining a force of growing and organizing communities outside of the election season. But I think this, I've heard it in several groups as far as if there was a way we could encourage them to let us choose our own candidates, might be a more an ask that would come directly out of North Carolina's needs. So if there's an interest in that, talk about it with Carrie, and y'all get back to me. We can see if you can kind of get some people working on that newsletter discussion that we're going to get started here in the next couple of weeks. And then before I go, I just wanted to mention we've got some great 21 planning coming up. There will be some conferences for like red state people, blue state people, purple state people, with like some specific kind of trainings for how we can really get those federal, get in their ear for kind of depending on how things play out in the Senate with Georgia, of course. But I dropped the link for that. And
Rachel, what exactly are you asking for? Do you want people who want to work on targeting Schumer?
People who would want to work with other indivisible leaders from around the nation to kind of help put together a monthly letter to Schumer from Indivisibles.
Mike Eisenberg, this reminds me of something you said last week.
Yeah, why can't, Rachel, why can't we petition Indivisible to list the slate of candidates to replace Schumer? I'm serious. As long as you keep having these corporatist flunkies doing what they're doing, we're going to keep getting Cal Cunninghams. We are not going to get the people that speak to the people who need their minimum wage raised to $22, $24 an hour, which gives a family of a two-working family $96,000 a year to live like a human being and not be living in poverty and be food hungry. And if we can't push Pelosi to put her underlings off the same page, we're never going to get it. And if we can't change the leadership in North Carolina, we're going to keep getting the same results we're getting here.
You got some cheers for that, Mike, from the Beardens.
I will say, through the grapevine, the New York Indivisible organizer, they're looking around at who they could have up there in the primary against Schumer too. So they kind of have the same.
I'm not talking about a primary that comes down the road in 2022. Right. I'm talking about changing him being ahead of the Democrats in the Senate.
Yes,
he's a wimp.
Yes. Okay, Amy.
You can't stand up to Mitch McConnell.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Yes, just came down that Mark Walker, who is our House of Representatives in my district, is going to be, he announced that he's going to be running for Burr's seat in the Senate, and he is horrible.
Horrible.
Is horrible.
Well, that'll give us some energy. Jeff.
I wanted to go back to what Diane and Cecil were talking about in terms of the urban-rural divide. I put a posting in the chat about an article about the issue in a rural area in Wisconsin. And the point that they were making is that the Democrats have failed to pay attention to the rural voters and what their needs really are. And one of the things, not unlike Schumer choosing the Senate candidate, the Democratic Party has, in some sense, imposed what they think the issues are should be for rural voters without actually listening to them. And I think that's a major issue and a major problem. So that's what I have to say.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Howdy. So I have a few things. So coming back to what a lot of people have said, I really think we need to work on our messaging. The messaging is really important as far as educating and making sure that rural and cities really are on the same page. And then I'm personally not a Democrat. And so, and there's a lot of unaffiliated independents. So how do we connect with them? Because I'm not a Democrat. I don't like Democrats or Republicans. So I'm unaffiliated. So I think we really need to be looking at that too. And what was the third thing? Oh, I forgot the third thing.
That's okay. You'll remember.
I remember. So as we were talking about names of people, what a lot of people are doing, like right now, as Biden and Harris are looking for cabinet members, there are different organizations that are coming across saying, okay, we suggest these people, or not choose these people. So I think, if we can come up with some names of people that we as a group, that includes a lot of different people together, can actually even suggest, okay, these are the really great names of people that can run against Burr. So we can even come up with some names for people.
And then let me understand something. So who is it that we have to target with those names? Is it the local Democratic people? Is it the national Democratic people? Is it both?
Democratic people.
It's the state? It comes first from the state?
I think so, yeah.
But I think it, if you follow the money, it's really Chuck Schumer deciding who his Senate committee is financing in each state.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me.
And the North Carolina, in my humble opinion, the North Carolina Democratic Party tends to follow Schumer because he has the money.
Instead of the other way around.
Right.
And that even though Erica Smith was polling better, they dumped all their money into Cunningham. That was my understanding.
The DNC state is really the organization. The Democratic National Congressional Committee. They're
Yes.
the ones who actually are the ones who decide who to back, and it's usually led by people like Schumer who are in charge of those things.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So who are those people that, go ahead, Lori. Who are those people that we want to see be our senator?
Jeff Jackson out of Charlotte. He is, I know he's another white Christian dude, but like his stance on everything that he's said is really great, and he's a really great voice in the NC House right now.
Who else? Look, Scarlett, are you talking? I know, I'm so sorry. There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And Jackson was one of the ones that Mike Woodard said would be a possible candidate that the North Carolina Democrats were looking at.
I still think Erica Smith is amazing.
What about Rachel Hunt? Our new friend worked on Rachel Hunt's campaign, and she's fantastic. Maybe not as well known as Jeff Jackson, but
tell us about her, Susan.
She's in the Charlotte area, and just really on point as far as the issue. So many of the issues we care about, from education. She's a daughter. Isn't she the daughter of the former governor?
Yes.
Yes. Diane, maybe your husband can do a better job. I'm sure your husband can do a better job than me talking about her.
We have a small political consulting firm here in Monroe, and that's for local candidates. We've done Matt Newton, who I think is a gem, Joel Ford, your AG, and also our latest victory was Rachel Hunt. We worked her ground game. We did all her GOTV, and she won for the 103rd. So
wow.
I have a printout of all of her stances, and rather than to enumerate them here, what I'll do is get with Jewel, and she'll show me what to do so I can put her literature in. But she is a very solid candidate. She is certainly on the progressive side. We could move her a little more, and she is the former governor's daughter. And he was at the polls with her, and we had poll workers out there, and she did very well. And what I was watching is to see how well she did in diverse communities, because that's really the telltale to whether you're serving your community. And she did very well in the African American and Asian community. So I think that she's a ripe candidate. And that's how you have to grow your candidates. They have to have good foundation, and they have to be able to be servants of the people. So I'm excited because we got to win.
Great. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. There's a lot of enthusiasm here for getting ourselves a real senator who actually has staff that answers the phone. Burr is even more elusive than Tillis. He just kind of disappeared.
Where is he? There's nothing, no word from him, or am I missing something?
No, nothing.
I got through to both of them this morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Burr's become a day trader.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was about to say Burr is probably talking to his stockbroker right now after getting out of a committee meeting.
Yes, exactly. Jan, go ahead.
I was just going to say that this conversation we're having about people to suggest for running for Senate is the kind of information that it seems that Rachel at Indivisible would want us to contribute to a monthly newsletter to Schumer. In other words, the research we're doing would be information that, in conjunction with other groups from around the country, would be wanting to feed to the people who are in power right now, until we can get them out of power anyway.
Oh, thank you for that. Is anyone feeling the call to kind of step up and do that? Because I think you're right, Jan.
This is like belling the cat.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine it post Georgia.
Okay.
I mean, even contemplation.
Okay.
After Georgia.
Okay. But
so I'll just throw that.
Can you imagine it?
I can.
Okay. So okay. Well, we'll return to that. That's a fair comment.
I mean, it's not that I'm not without my issues of indivisible and what's that all about. You know, I still have issues about organizing some of their. You got it.
Are we going to remain an indivisible?
Exactly.
What a good question, Amy.
Yeah.
You have thoughts about that?
Yeah. We just need something that works. And I'm not sure what we need to figure out what our purpose and what our goal is. And then go towards it. I'm not sure they're on the right page. I'm just saying.
What benefit do they provide?
Yeah. Are they providing you, Karen, with anything to run your indivisible? To run this indivisible?
Well, the thing is, they have a lot of ideas. I tend to take my cues from you all and not from them. Because I actually find the wisdom of this group greater than what comes down from indivisible. That's my experience.
So far, none of it's working, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I don't know I'm not sure what working means too. You know, I mean, I think that we have been laboring, all of us, under a tremendous headwind. And one of the things that I've learned in the last 4 years is how long that headwind has been building. The dark money, the Koch brothers, the transfer of wealth from the federal treasury since 1980, when Reagan did, you know, it just goes on and on. So I think that we don't know what success looks like. To me, success looks like this conversation, because I think that we've all been working so hard to learn why is it like this. We've all been working so hard to get out the vote, which thank God enough of us did this all over the country so that at least Trump is going to be out of office. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to say one thing about Indivisible, which is there is a monthly call. Susan has done it, and I've done it, and you know, my experience of Rachel as an organizer is she talks a lot and doesn't listen as much as I would like. And so that meeting is really interesting because it's people who are in Indivisible chapters in North Carolina. But I would like to hear more from them and less from her because she does the top-down Indivisible thing. But there's a guy in Lincoln County who's doing deep canvassing and has been doing it for months and calls people up and says, do you have enough to eat? Are you okay? And that's how he canvasses people and gets them to vote, Lincoln County. So, you know, I think there's some genius out there, and it really is coming from the grassroots, not from the national organizers. And I would like to stay in touch with him, you know, with some of these other organizers. Mike's had his hand up for a while, and then Lori.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy that we need, not him particularly, but that's the kind of leadership that we need leading us to win elections. We keep using the same people that keep losing. And, you know, and when you're being bought and paid for by the same people that the Republicans are being bought and paid for, maybe we're a little less bad than they are, but we're bad. And until we can change that leadership, we're going to be stuck in the same rut that we've been stuck in for 40 years. Yeah, we've won 7 out of the last 8 elections, but we haven't until now, we haven't, we're not taking the presidency, and we can't win elections on the state level to put in enough senators where it doesn't matter what the rural and urban divide are. I understand it for the House, but not for the Senate. That's a statewide election. And we have more. I'm not a Democrat either. I don't believe they represent me, so I'm unaffiliated. But there's more Democrats and unaffiliated than are Republicans in every state in the country. And why they can't win enough senators is beyond my wildest dreams, other than the fact that guys like Chuck Schumer and other people that are like Tom Perez are still wanting the people that they keep losing with, like Cal Cunningham's, and it just doesn't make sense. And I'm tired of banging my head against the wall. We need to find a voice where we can collectively talk across the country. Maybe we need to get some of these national organizations. I love the grassroots that we are, but maybe we need the help and the backing of some of these big working family parties and people like that who go for those people. We all have to work together in unison.
Thanks, Mike. Lori, and then Dewey.
Yeah, I think one of the beauties of this organization is that we have provided a network of individuals who are active in other groups, whether that's, civil rights or voting or environment or education or whatever it is that, and one of the beauties is we bring that information, we share it with one another so that we can activate one another either as a group or individually. I find it really rich to get all this information constant, every week for years. So it's been a source of resources as extending out as well as bringing in information. But one of the issues here is whether we want to continue to focus electorally nationally or whether we want to focus on North Carolina and on issues in North Carolina to build our knowledge as well as action locally. There's plenty of work to do in our state, and perhaps that can be one of our focuses in the coming months. How do we strengthen our action and activity with other organizations throughout the state and focus perhaps on elections in our state legislature or on issues that affect our state, like rural connectivity, infrastructure, as one example, simply.
Good, like redrawing the maps, like Medicaid expansion. Dewey.
Karen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. 2 points. One, we as Indivisible did not lose. Indivisible did not lose. Indivisible was after this administration that's in now. We won. Secondly, we all remember how many people knew what happened with Cal Cunningham. 3 or 4 people might be all that knew. Chuck Schumer, someone out there that neutralizes people on the home team. We're in here voting on the home team. He takes all that stuff and looks it forward and gets out of there, gets out of the court there. But we didn't. For sure, Schumer didn't either. So we didn't lose that. It cut us all out.
Thank you, Dewey. Thank you. Mike, and then Cecil.
I just have one more comment. And Lori, I think if we get candidates like the 2 guys that are running in Georgia to run locally as well as statewide and for national office, I listen to those 2 guys. Not only have great ideas, but when they're attacked, they defend themselves by defending their policies and standing up for what they believe is right. Like Warnock says, she's ridiculing and misrepresenting my 25 years of what I said as a preacher. He didn't back off. He just came right back at her and said more. So that's the kind of people I think that we need bring enthusiasm that Democrats they want to be Democrats can win statewide elections as well as national elections.
Yeah, they are great candidates. Lib, I'm sorry I missed you. Lib, and then Cecil.
Thank you. Thank you for all of the comments. And I wanted to go back to the comments about rural versus urban, because in working against fracking for so many years in the ACP, what we have learned is that in Northampton County, there's not even a newspaper. And there are other counties in the state that don't have newspapers. They don't have access to broadband, and they are so limited in their ability to even communicate with the children in school. And so it is, as Laura suggested, I really hope we will focus on the issues in North Carolina, because we have food insecurity that is rampant, and then there's always, trying to fight the fossil fuel. We want to be able to continue to support the environmental issues around the governor's program, even if we don't agree with all of it. We still need climate change and the program that would give us more renewable energy, and that increases jobs. So I really appreciate the wisdom that is here in this group, and I don't know how to adequately express that, like so many other things I'd like to say, but it is, it was appalling to me to find out that when from the public comments that were supposed to be given to the DEQ, there were people in that that lived in the neighborhood of where the proposed hog mess is proposed, that had no access to even comment, because they don't have it. So it's not just rural versus, it's haves and have nots, as right. And I just, anyway, I get very frustrated about the whole process, and appreciate the fact that we are addressing the issues head on.
Thank you so much, Liv. Thank you so much. Cecil.
Yes, I just wanted to applaud what Laurie said earlier, as well as what Liv said. And I think it's a way of getting to this problem, the rural-urban divide, because it's a matter of messaging. And what you have to remember is, and I'm from Eastern North Carolina, that those folks down there listen to right-wing radio all the time. Rush Limbaugh is God. And we've got to figure our way, work with other people, figure out a way how we combat that. And I think that's how we have to build a progressive movement statewide. So focusing on state issues is one mechanism to getting there, I think.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I just have to tell you this story, and it's about a movie that made me cry, and the movie was called Pride. And it was about gay activists who went to support the coal miners in Wales. Maybe some of you saw that movie. And I have been inspired by that movie for years. And I think that, there are people in rural North Carolina who are facing such dreadful issues and trying to put together a response. And I just love the idea of, like, in that movie, we just all get in a bus after COVID, or individual cars until then, and we show up to be with them, to stand with them, to advocate for them. So anyway, watch that movie if you can. I think it's called Pride. We show up at each other's events. That's how we build solidarity. Yeah, Dewey.
Just echo what has been said here about the papers. I get a morning briefing every day from the New York Times, and there's a story on just what was said here. When those local newspapers go down the tube goes government. I said when I was in state government, the best money we have are the activists out there that bring these issues forward to us. And down the tube will also go to our politics as well. if we lose those small town papers. We've got one here, and I know it's struggling, but it's here.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Making an effort to support local journalism also in our different places. Good. Anybody hasn't talked to wants to talk, or? Go ahead, Mitch. Oh, you have to unmute, honey.
Sorry, I listed an article that was in the Atlantic in the chat about William Barber, an interview with William Barber. Is American healing even possible?
Yeah,
it's a really good article, and it kind of talks about what you all are talking about, which is, I mean, this divide between poor whites and people of color, poor people of color, has been going on for 400 or 500 years. Once they had gotten together at some point, and the white people had realized the trouble that would cause. So there's been this division that's been going on for many centuries. And at the end of the article, Reverend Barber kind of says, well, we need to go, President-elect Biden, Kamala Harris needs to go to Alabama, Mississippi, roll out these healthcare plans, roll out the minimum wage, increases the minimum wage, and go to those states, the red states, the deep red states, and actually have, not I would call them rallies, but roll them out and talk to people there. And that's where it has to start, is to get people to realize that we're not so different, that we have common causes, that we've been led down this road where they vote against their own interest to not help them, but to hurt them. So it's a very good article if you have a chance to read it.
Thank you. That's a really, really good point. And that's the genius of Reverend Barber. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Lib, go ahead, Lib.
Thank you for what you just said, Mitch. It just reminded me, the big corporate greed is going to show, is proposed a Buc-ee's in Orange County. So that's right here, within 50 miles of us. In Hillsborough on Saturday, there will be a rally at 2:00 at the courthouse against this. It's proposed to be the largest gas station in the world with over 100 pumps. And anyway, I just want you to, if you want to go, I'll put the website in the chat, but that is just one example of how corporate has just come in. DOT decided, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know how they decided that so quickly. They haven't done any kind of environmental impact statement, and yet it's in Orange County. It's right here. So I'll put that, and hope you can pay attention to that and write letters to the commissioners, who will make a decision in December, like December 7th or 15th. I haven't seen it exactly yet, the time, but if you can.
Please do put that in the chat. I want to go to Hillsborough Courthouse at 2:00. That's a way that we can support our rural neighbors, that they won't have the largest gas station in the world that's going to pollute the groundwater. And anybody else want to, or Lib, anybody else want to add to that? The reason why we have to protest this monstrosity in Efland. So hopefully that there's a Facebook that we can put on our Facebook page and group.
If nobody else wants to say anything, I'll just throw in again. I read up an article yesterday trying to find out who owns the haulers. They have.
You know what? It's 12:20. It's 12:28. So I'm going to have to cut you off, but I really want you to put the website in the chat.
Okay, I'll do that and let somebody else.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you put the phone number too of the commissioner so we can all call them?
Yeah, it sounds like we have a little time for that. Mike. So we'll make sure that we can get that information out there. Penny, do you have a last quick word?
Yeah, just a quick question. Diane sort of had heard that there was a security put in front of the General Assembly, and I put that in the Facebook if anyone knew anything about that, and whether that was just an extension of what had happened Saturday in front of the governor's mansion when the Proud Boys and the Black Lives Mattered and a bunch of other groups were clashing.
Yeah, don't know. I think no, we don't know. We talked about that a little before we start. Okay, it's so hard to cut this off, but we need to. Thank you for this really, really rich conversation. Deep gratitude to you. And you know, it's great to sing together. It gets energy moving through our bodies, which we sort of need after a conversation like that. So I just want to encourage you all to sing along with Randa and Mike, and then Susan's going to bring us our closing word.
Great. The lyrics are in the chat. If you don't like who's in there, vote them out. That's what election day is all about. The superpower we got is called the ballot box. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out. You vote them out. Vote them out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. We'll bring some great ones in, and they'll find us hope again. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out.
Loeffler let her pearls with all the swine. I'm sure I'm glad her husband isn't mine. If the election is a hoax, why's she telling her folks to vote? Yeah, we don't like who's in there, vote them out. Hey, Georgia, you deserve someone who's true. Bet your ass that sure ain't Dave Perdue. Davey thinks the climate's a bore, but his stocks, oh, well, they soar. Yeah, we don't like who's in there, vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. When they're gone, yeah, I'll twist and shout. I'll bring some new ones in, and they'll find us hope again. 'Cause we don't like who's in there, vote them out.
While Dave and Kelly cling to a sinking boat, Raphael and John will win the vote. Election fraud, boo-hoo! Oh, Georgia's turning blue. And now we'll finally win the Senate, too. Here we go! Vote them out. Oh, vote them out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. Yes, we will. We'll bring some new ones in, oh, and start that thing again, yeah. If we don't like who's in there, vote them out. I said, if you don't like who's in there, vote them out.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Friends, today, you may know, is Giving Tuesday. And I've been thinking about that today as we've met here. This group gives every Tuesday, not just one Tuesday a year. This group gives every single Tuesday. So as we leave this gathering, let's keep on giving. Giving our exquisite imaginations, our hearts, our minds, our bodies to the movement. It's not a moment, it's a movement. So forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
One step back.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Bye, everybody.
Y'all are awesome.
Thank you.
You all are awesome.
Keep your chins up.
Hey, I put in the chat that Sunday night on CNN at 7:00, there's a debate between Loeffler and Warnock, if everybody's interested and wants to watch it. Sunday at 7, CNN.
Oh, good. And is Purdue ever facing Ossoff again, or is he totally?
I doubt it.
If he's smart, he won't.
Is it ironic that Purdue is a chicken?
Brenda and Mike, I loved your words. That was so.
You know, she wrote the verses that I sang, and I sang the verses that she wrote. So,
great. It's a great collaboration.
I love it. I love working with Brenda, or playing, I should say, not work.
Is that a little dachshund you're holding? Mike?
No, it's a min pin. He's our little mojo. He's
cute.
He came from the shelter in Raleigh 5 years ago, and we just love him.
Very cute.
He's a shelter pup.
I love to see people's pets on here.
I want to share something that I just got on my phone. I get alerts from Faithful America, and it is a religious group, and it says, as we speak, Franklin Graham is still undermining democracy and even falsely claiming progressive Christians don't exist, accusing Georgia Senate candidate Reverend Raphael Warnock of supporting a demonic-driven agenda.
Oh my God.
And Robert Jeffers is opening his megachurch doors while mocking COVID-19 precautions in God's name on Fox News. Now, we were talking about small towns not having newspapers. Many of these small town communities follow the word of Franklin Graham, and they watch Fox News. It's frightening. And I, as a Christian, am so concerned. And I love Stephen Colbert. And Stephen said, if this is going to be a Christian nation that doesn't help the poor, either we have to pretend Jesus was just as selfish as we are, or we've got to acknowledge that he commanded us to love the poor and serve the needy, visit the sick without condition, and then admit that we just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I did not want to say this when we were on the air, but it troubles me, especially in these times when so many people in North Carolina venerate the Graham name, and Franklin Graham is saying that about another minister.
That reminds me too, the first part of what Scarlett said. We have